Cocoa Wellness and makes it into town. Junior Elena Delta. Sophomore Dylan Sana. We have lots of comments today. So just what kind of dedication does it take to break varsity school records that have been held for over 10 years? And earn your way to the second fastest state swimming in the country. A practice schedule of these young men and women starts in August. We start swimming at 5 a.m. So 5 a.m. Monday through Friday, and 11 practices a week. This is what we kind of go through until the season. We have worked extremely hard to see this conference. We have conference champions, sectional champions, district champions, state runner-up, 3 top 6 finishers. We have Dylan was the only sophomore in the whole state to make a top 8 finish. We can individuals earn a state All-American, so we know that the All-American honor is for swimmers in the U.S. high school swimmers that are the top 100 classes for in the country. Congratulations to Boone, Christianity, and Atlanta.
We have our wrestling team. I don't know exactly maybe some athletes we played in the month.
Once again, our youth wrestling team has had another successful season. This year, some of their highlights as a team, they were the dual meet state runner-up as a full team, and also as an individual state tournament as a team, they were the state runner-ups as well. So as a team accolade, they had 2 state runner-up titles in the same year for both individual and the team. And in the state individual tournament, there were 11 of the 14 team members who made the state tournament. State qualifiers: Manny Scoros, James Bromstra, and Ben Benavia. Nick Campbell was an 8th place winner. Luke Benavia was a 7th place winner. 6th place winners: Anthony Rizzo and Max Benavia. 3rd place winners: Caden Jess and Cale Voinovich. State runner-up: Brock Herman. And the school's first undefeated state wrestling champion, Victor Voinovich. So we had several state places this year, and many of them are returning again next year.
$18 in a row state champions, gymnastics team, and all right, hello everyone. Yeah, we just had our end of the season banquet, and we really didn't plan much to stay here to let me sheet off my hair. It's just 21 in a row, 18 overall. We went 55-0 as a team this year, and we, you know, with all the different things happening this school year in general, these girls persevered and they fought to the very end, and it was awesome. And we had to win the state championship all together at the hotel because we didn't get to have a normal award ceremony. We thought it was a great way, though, to spend it together and find out. We weren't sure we were going to win till the very end because the teams that were runner up and third behind us were still competing. So I want to congratulate all of the girls And, this is also the most individual qualifiers we have, and I'll tell you when to call anyone. All right, so we'll start with our freshman, Jeannie Winston, Tessa Long, Abby Henning, and Leah Abigail. Come up when I call your name. Oh, I have to go in this order. Stay where you are. Hold on. All right. We'll start with CJ Briggoff, team champion. All right. Senior Keith Pepe is the state champ individual on the vault. Fourth on the Anti-Harassment, Florex, and third all around. Team champion. Hero, team champion. Williamson, team champion. Juniors, and they're all team champions. I will do their individuals. Yeah, LG. Lindsay Kern. Fifth on the vault, third on the end of the bar, sixth on the floor, and seventh all around. Alice, 10th on the balance beam. Next are sophomores, Delaney Evans. Ella was also state runner-up on the end of the bar. And on to our freshmen, we have Leah Gabrielle. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I said I have Abby Henning, and then we have Tessa Long. There's Tessa. And Jeannie Winston. There's your state champions, and also I'd like to give a shout out to our assistant coach back there because I wouldn't do it without her. It's Leah Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Congratulations. Next, we'd like to honor some of our CDC outstanding students. So, Mr. Craig.
All right, so if anyone is unfamiliar with CBCC, CBCC is our vocational partner school, located over on Brentwood Road, and they are a compact with 7 other school districts that also have students who attend their school. I don't know the exact number of programs they offer. However, each year, each program identifies the most outstanding students in their respective programs. This year, we had 5. That's an incredible amount. For construction trade, Frank Fair. For hotels and resorts, Isabella Galata. For electrical systems, Augie Thomas. For education professions, Maria Lever. And for sports medicine, exercise science, Abby Williamson. Great, congratulations.
Next, we'd like to honor our students from the National Technical Honor Society. Mr. Detroit?
In addition to CBCC outstanding students, we also have National Technical Honor Society winners. And that was what I was being corrected about. Charlotte Jones in sports medicine, exercise science. Rama Cassis for dental assistant. Marshall Parrish for Fire and EMS Academy. Cecilia Stoddard, Health Careers. Mackenzie Williams Mitchell, Health Careers. And Abigail Williamson, Sports Medicine, Exercise Science. Congratulations, students, on your National Technical Honor Society.
Thank you. Congratulations. Next, we would like to honor our National Merit finalists.
This year, we have 4 National Merit finalists. Michael Corbo. Anthony Pimentel. Stephanie Massa. And Madeline Shaheen.
Okay, next we would like to honor our entire.
Congratulations.
Department. We were named from NAMM Best Communities for Music Education Award. As you know, our music programs are outstanding, from our bands to our choirs to all of the way we instructed with the music. So we're very proud of our staff and wanted to honor them this evening. So congratulations to our family, Darla. Jennifer O'Neill. Ashley Persnicky. Denise Tomatis. Gina. Caucus, these are members of our orchestra boosters and our band booster parents, and Michelle McGrath. Thank you for all of your hard work and congratulations on this wonderful honor.
Thank Thank you.
Next, I'd like to honor our OFBA virtual solo and ensemble participants, all receive a superior or an excellent rating.
Come on, then.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Mr. Sula, and I'm vice director here. This year we had a very successful outing at our old MBA solo ensemble event, the Ohio Association. Participation in solo ensemble is voluntary, but students who participate grow immensely as musicians and are to be commended for their dedication to musical excellence. Students' performances are rated on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being the superior rating or the highest rating, and also 2 is an excellent rating, which is also very commendable rating. This year we had 11 high school participants, all from our band program. Each of all of them got a superior or excellent rating. As I read the name, I have to hold your applause at the end. I think all of our students were able to make it this evening. If you are here, please come up front and we'll be able to issue your certificate. So Aiden Casa, Mary M, Ella Shaheen, Zach Zywick, Maddie Shaheen, Noah Matson, Kristen Griffiths, Jake Zywick, Amy Kovach, Annie Dickhot, Connor Smith, and Logan Larancho. Give a round of applause to these students.
I would now like to turn the microphone over to Mr. Yao, who has a special presentation for our amazing speech and debate coach, Mr. McMillan. Yes, when you come up, I'm going to have you stay up to talk about some of your wonderful students and their accomplishments.
Good evening. My name is Lloyd Young. I am part of the student committee. I'm here tonight to nominate Mark Campus for recognition within our school district. Mark, in 2007, was a parent of a student here, and there was no speech or debate extracurricular activity. Working in conjunction with another parent and eventually myself, he founded a speech and debate team, which is parent run and parent coach. Initially, we were only looking to provide this activity for our own children. However, after his son graduated, Mark's been on as a volunteer coach. The team has had much success over the years. There have been nearly 100 qualifiers for the state tournament. Multiple students who have made semifinal or final rounds. 2 years ago, we had our first state champion, Christine Kurakowski, in Information Speaking. And this year, we had our second state champion, Garrett Travers, in Original Oratory. In addition, our team has grown large enough to be able to win a first place team trophy for the first time this year. As proud as we are about our successes, I think a much greater achievement for Mark is reflected in the students who did not stand in the circle. Under Mark's leadership, the team imparts critical skills to students to help them succeed in life, no matter what field they eventually enter. We all know that lawyers and teachers need speaking skills, but even engineers and scientists need to present their findings effectively. These skills even help if you're just working at Starbucks or interacting with your family. By teaching these skills, Mark has helped close to 1,000 students succeed in school and in life. Not every student won a trophy, but every student who joined the team is better prepared to succeed in the next generation. Finally, Mark had a vision for the team that went beyond his personal time and effort. About 10 years ago, Mark began to advocate for the transformation of the speech team to a permanent organization. He wanted the team to endure, independent of any individual contributor. I must admit, I initially resisted. I felt this goal was too grandiose. However, over the last decade, we have managed to transform the organization and team to a permanent presence, much like the orchestra hosted. We now have negotiating officers, fundraising, and community support. As Mark had envisioned, the speech team will all last in and remain a resource for just a few weeks ago, past students' parents contacted us and wrote the following. I would like to support the speech and debate team through a donation. I plan to continue making annual donations. Regarding the use of money, I would like to create an award for someone who worked hard but didn't make it to the state or earn an award as a top speaker. You can listen to Mark's work to get a better understanding of this award. My son Patrick is in the video. He was very kind to Mark and recognized it. The speech and debate program helps support lifelong success of those that when that is mine, if possible, I would like to support several kids in my donation who feel that they do not have the funds to pay the part. Keep doing wonderful work and making a positive difference in the life of these words speak for yourselves. Thank you.
Well, actually, I've got, thank you very much, by the way. I can't say this was unexpected because they told me to be here. Kind of the tradition that the speech and debate was talk the most of any of the coaches that would come forward. So I'll maintain that tonight. I'd just like to make a couple of quick comments about this award that are very grateful. It's something that's always been, I felt very important to stress to the kids that while tonight we recognize the top performers at each of these events, whether they're with the wrestling team, the gymnastics team, or band, etc. A team is supposed not just the stars to make it to the stage, but for every kid who gets up on a Saturday morning, as our kids do, spends all day at a tournament and does their best. And that's what I've always tried to impart to our students. Speech and debate is a competitive activity. And if you want to be better at speaking, just for the heck of it, you want to be better speakers, you need to compete. That's how you improve. And that goes across anything. If you want to be in band, and you want to be better at band, it helps if you compete. And that's what I truly believe. And that's why I felt that every student, not just the stars, deserve the most attention. So now I'd like to do the part about inviting people up. The person who deserves the most credit for all the awards for this past year and the prior year is actually the head coach. I'm now the lowly assistant coach. And I only coached 2 events this past year. Congress and a little bit of middle school debate. But Coach Kaylin Bass, if you are here, in the audience. And but Coach Kaylin has done an outstanding job. I resigned as head coach at the end of last year. At that point, mainly I thought it was for business reasons, but it turned out to be for health reasons as well. But Coach Kaylin took over after only 2 years of being assistant, and has done an amazing job with the program. And he continues that philosophy. And I think what Lloyd talked about is that the idea that we can now have the changeover of head coaches to continue the program is essential to keep things going. I'd like to recognize one of our students, Garrett Travers. Garrett competed in what's called original oratory, and Garrett was a state champion this past year. He is not only an outstanding speaker, he's an outstanding student, and he is truly a wonderful kid who is extremely talented. And many of you who saw the recent play got to see Garrett's talents in full force. So I don't know if Garrett is here tonight, but he certainly deserves an award. And also in our audience, I would like to recognize him, is James Patrick. And James Patrick is a competitor in congressional debate. He finished 8th in the state this past year. That's the highest that someone has finished in Congress from our school in many years. And he is also, for the 2nd year in a row, a national qualifier. And 2 years in a row, he has finished 1st in the greater Cleveland district. So if you don't give a hand for Coach Caleb and Garrett and James, but all the students of the teaching station to put the effort in to make a great team and a great competition.
I would like to honor our world-winning high school robotics team. I and not to mention, Mr. Kowalski was awarded the best robotics coach of the year, so we're very proud of him as well.
I know everybody wants to get home as quick as possible. I'll be short. Let's start with, we have 6 teams up here at the high school, and you know, they compete individually against each other. A lot of times, as we go in the tournaments, our only losses are to our home teams. So it's they're pretty competitive in our arena, which is the robotics room. But we have 6 teams. Team A, Braden Prairie, Mallory Secaucus, Ben Rose, Maria Manning. Team 201 B, Dalen Kiner, Nico Poppins, Mary Lee, Zach Meehes, Rory Lee. Team C, Dominic Policarpo, Lindsey Gordon, Frank Fair, Rocco Grassi, Peter Kramer. For Team D, Macker Kanich, Cheryl Merchant, Aiden Casa, Mahalo Vilkovic, Sam Galicki, Luke Olasinski. Team D, Zach Campbell, Giovanni Bomarito, Eric Mueller, Aiden Smith, Team F, Nate Travis, Alex Bliss, Adam Bliss, Ben Mason, Carmen Fulton, Jake Banks, and one last one.
And you won't have the first name. You can stand. Sam's not here.
We're state runners up this year. We're state champs in skills division. We won the excellence award. That is the highest overall award given in the state tournament. Unfortunately, this year World is canceled, so we will not be traveling to Dallas, Texas for Worlds, but they are having a showcase tournament. Last weekend we were in Virginia with 2 teams and second. And this coming weekend, we will have 4 teams up in Michigan, to kind of finalize our season here. Thank you.
Certainly, last but not least, we'd like to honor our middle school robotics team.
Good evening, middle school robotics, won their first state championship this year. We also had a team, the Queen Bees, who won the Create Award. And none of this could have been done without their coach, Coach Kowalski, the younger coach, Kowalski. So I'm going to let him come up and introduce his teams.
We have 6 teams competing at the state tournament this year. From Team Z, Marcus Carlosmano, Caleb Siskel, John Muir, Ben Klein, and Ben Lane. And also Sawyer Jones. The Creative Award winners, Lily Marsh, Grace Hilmer, Grace Hunt, Melissa Garden, Taylor Costa, Corinna Yuan, Gabriella Capuzzo. From Team Y, one of the state qualifying teams, Jason Lewicki, Connor Corum, Lucas Kawada, Callie Pouch, and Brian Stanek. From Team X, Benny Battaglia, Tim Hawkins, Sydney Schnell, Henry Churchin, Anna Dunwall. The Team W, Alex Fu, Ryan Stewart, Macarena Pareja, Haley Morrell, and Ian Butler. And lastly, from Team S, Benny Hendo, Luke Littles, Aiden Matledge, Ryan Sobex, Nathan Collada, Derek Patton, and Jacker Lambertson.
Congratulations. Congratulations to all of the people that we honored this evening. I know it's also testing, and I think that we will consider you brief if you want to leave at this moment from the meeting, but you're always welcome to stay and enjoy our board meeting.
Lots of things. I don't know, there were attachments put on there too. I don't know if Greg or Chris or somebody wants to speak to it.
Sure, Chris, you want to stand by, maybe just in case, but, so we've been kind of hard at work with the PI committee in general, so I've attached 3 updates, things that we worked on. Chris has put some of these together. First and foremost, I guess, some of the highlights, which I'll just show quickly here, are, maybe I'll start quickly. there's a problem with the computer all the time. There we go. Okay, so these are some of the highlights of what was done over the past year in 2020, 2021. So, tour. So we can see how we were expensed by building for the high school, the middle school, and then the athletics and transportation and maintenance, along with the education center. So a total about 764,000. Obviously, we don't see the elementaries on there for probably good reason for now, as we're building a brand new one. But this is just more of a point of reference for some of the stuff that was done over the past year. And, you know, some of this is despite COVID, so we were able to still get a lot of this stuff done. So just wanted to share that out. And again, we'll still stay here for future reference. We also looked at what we're doing for next year as we kind of go through, we kind of recall. So there's just a ton of work going on here this summer, and not all of it's necessarily just out of PI, but it's still permanent improvements. So we have a big wireless project coming up over the summer, paid for with E-rate dollars. So we're gonna have a brand new wireless that's going to be installed. We're switching over to Active Directory. So there's a lot of updates in technology going on. And then, as we kind of talked about, we have some pretty large improvements with the Gardner HVAC, 2.87 million. We got some ESSER funds. There's all this money that's come in. We've got TIP money. We've got extra money from workman's comp. And so a lot of these windfalls for us have been really able to get some of these major projects off the deferred list, basically. So this is also kind of just a recap. And again, we've talked about these ones at the last several meetings. So I won't spend too much time on this, and then we have a roof replacement as well going on in the middle school for $900,000. So it's going to be a very busy summer. The middle school is basically completely closed over the summer, so we can get all this stuff done. We just did a kickoff meeting with Gardner yesterday. Yes, I don't know what day it is. So we just did a kickoff meeting with them yesterday, and then next week they're going to meet with the roofers so they can coordinate together and get all that stuff taken care of. So the next phase was kind of like, let's get everything caught up and see where we are. And then lastly, we've asked Chris to start putting together the 5-year plan. And this is by no means done, but we want to also already start working on what's to come in the next phase. So we tried to, so next year, I guess the fiscal 22 side of things are 22 going into 23. It's a pretty packed schedule as well, and a very busy summer for next summer already. And I'll come back to next summer in a minute. But we've started to fill in fiscal 23, fiscal 24, and fiscal 25, and fiscal 26, which are not fully done yet. And so one of the things in terms of we've identified roofing as a major thing we're going to continue to work on, but we decided as a committee to, after the next phase is done, to do a roofing study and really kind of regroup on the roofing aspect to see what's necessary and what buildings we have left at that point. So that's on the roofing side. And then we also need to kind of bring back in our curriculum department to see when the next adoption is. We have to bring in the technology department to see what technology updates are going to need to be included in here. But we've been able to pretty aggressively move with facilities for this year and next year. So we got to loop them back in on this 5-year plan to fill it in. But if we kind of go back to what we're looking at in terms of a proposal for next year, it's funded with what we'll have left over in carryover from this year, because we're moving some of those ESSER dollars out, in addition to the tax revenue that will be brought in from the PI levy, which is about estimated between 1.8 and 1.9 million. So we would do $1 million roof project for next summer. And we should be able to, as long as they stay within these budget numbers that we're looking at, look at resurfacing of the track, which is in pretty bad shape, and the tennis courts, which have been closed. And also one of the things that's been brought to our attention that we want to make sure we take care of is providing ADA access and parking for the baseball and softball field. So those are kind of on here, and if this is kind of what the committee kind of talked about, and what kind of maybe is more of a recommendation of things that maybe we should look at for next year and continue to work on the 5-year plan. And I guess, are there any questions? There's some impact statements that are listed here. I'm not going to read them, but kind of like gives you a synopsis of what's going on and who's impacted by some of these repairs. I hope I recapped that well.
Yeah, no, thanks, appreciate that, Craig. And I mean, I think that the key takeaway on all of this is that like a few years ago, when our tennis courts were towards the end of their life, and we're trying to figure out, we didn't have the funds to commit to replace that. We had a lot of things on our top 10 list from a PI standpoint that we're trying to figure out how to get to. And Craig mentioned a number of things that have changed our picture and have allowed us to address more things quickly, front and center. As bad as COVID has been, it has led to an increase in funding that's come to schools, and that funding can be used for things like ventilation, HVAC, which we already had a lot on the list. So by leveraging those funds to do a lot of the HVAC and EDC control updates that we had on our list, it freed up PI money to start addressing other things. We also had some influx of capital from our bond issue, which, if everybody recalls, the bond issue was meant to not only replace the elementary schools, but also hopefully have extra money to address other needs. And as of now, the building project has gone very well. The contingency money that's in the building fund for the new school, so far they've not needed to tap into it. And if that trend continues, more of that money will be available to redirect back into PI. We've already used some of that money, knocked out the security vestibule in the middle school. So that's already paid some dividends. And then, as Craig mentioned, the validators development brought in additional funds that we put into PI because their list was so long. So because we've had this influx in additional funding, it's allowed us to be more aggressive in tackling this long list of needs that we've had. And I think mostly with this 5-year plan, most things are taken care of, short of roofing, which is still, there's questions, which is why we're talking about doing a roofing study to figure out what do we really need to do after next year with roofs, and can we plan that, out into the future in terms of our spend.
Just one thing I'd like to say is policy. Item J, students, parents, and other community members will have access to and be encouraged to use the school's outdoor physical facilities outside of the school. Traffic, baseball field, dresses, particular, that's a new item.
Well, and if you recall, we talked about the track a year or two ago, and it was trending badly, but it looked like it was still usable. Now it's taken a turn for the worse. So obviously, if the track goes, then that causes a lot of impact across the community and our student body. So
I just wanted to say thanks in particular to Code and for Amazon for being able to figure all this out. And so you think that the lab resurfacing and the tennis court project can be done next summer?
So we'll have to schedule that, but yeah, it would look like it would be next spring, summer, depending on how the seasons fall and what the least impact I would assume for students would be. So we'd be looking at the bid process this winter, I believe, yes. So getting out to bid is early enough, probably by November, December.
Okay. And then the ADA improvements for baseball and softball, the timing on that is still in the year.
Well, we're waiting for some drawings from our architects, but that we're planning to have, hoping to have that by the fall. So based on the cost of that, it's not something that necessarily has to go out for bid. So the minute we have drawings, we have final costs on that, we'll bring it to the board, but that should be done sooner than later.
What policy? Just policy.
Since the post been so busy with everything else that was back, so no.
Don't let him tell you he's busy. He's really not. Not.
I don't know, Valley Career Center report?
Mr. Gilbride is not able to be here today, and he is planning on attending the board meeting. He wanted to let us know that the elastic contract was classified as being voted on by their board. I know that it's pretty. That contract will be done by the end of this month. They're really meeting with their teacher start next week. He also mentioned that he received effort funding and they are using most of that funding to bolster their adult ed program. Or their nursing program. And he will be here next month.
Right. So as a follow-up to last month's report out for the telethon, the final number for fundraise for classroom grants was $17,400. This coming year, the applications for teachers, that application process has been open. Dr. Martin has shared that information with teachers. The application can also be found at BBHCSD.org. Something to note, especially for our special ed teachers, the Schools Foundation will be issuing a special needs grant batch this year. So for the $17,000 that were raised from the telethon this year, the Schools Foundation will be matching that same $17,000. So a total of $34,000 will be issued in classroom grants. So teachers are, as always, encouraged to apply. The deadline for application is June 2nd. The awards going out at convocation next fall. And then finally, for the Schools Foundation, they are seeking approximately 3 to 4 new trustees and additional information, and an inquiry can be sent to info@bbhs.org.
ESO report? ESOs are busy helping bring school years to the lowest by recognized all staff and administration. The upcoming staff appreciation, as well as recognizing co-guides of PSO. Will be a special event in our organization this year. Our elementary PSOs have also planned fun activities for their group. They're hosting in-person, outdoor, as well as virtual programs. Middle school PSO is also hosting a virtual book fair and continuing to plan fundraisers for the middle school auditorium renovation. The high school PSO is currently focused on planning another fun memorables after prom. Looking ahead, we have most of our executive boards in place. Next year, starting to plan the PSO's role in commemorating existing elementary buildings. That's the PSO report. The other board member reports?
I have just one final one from CAPA. Last weekend, the communities and school district participated in the National Prescription Take Back Day. The collection site was at the horticultural building in the city of Brecksville. They reported a whopping 597 pounds of expired and unused medication that were collected and turned in. So just an incredible turnout from our communities, being exceptionally responsible and continuing to manage the prescriptions that are in our. Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Just wanted to say that we're rounding third and heading home in terms of the school year, and a busy May. We were issued notice for teacher negotiations, so we are going to be starting through that process with both of our unions very shortly. In addition, we have our senior awards night that is coming up, where our students will be recognized and awarded hundreds thousands of dollars in local scholarships, so we're very proud of that. We have prom coming up on May 15th, which is at the Rock Hall. The kids are very excited about the idea of having it at the Rock Hall. They do set out an outside venue, and the kids are excited that they're going to be able to celebrate their prom and overlook the lake, which is kind of nice. Certainly, if it's not an inclement weather day, they will move inside and they allow the kids access to the whole museum. So what a special treat that they'll get to see the museum and have their prom all in the same evening. And on May 29th, we will hold our graduation ceremony down at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. Something, again, the kids are very excited about. We did that to move into a bigger venue because we are still under some COVID capacity requirements for having something on an indoor venue. And so this way, each of our graduates will be able to receive 6 tickets for graduation. And also in May, we are at a place in our new elementary in the buildings project that we can safely bring groups of kids there so that they can start seeing it as well as our staff to get them excited about being in that new facility. So starting the week of May 10th, we are targeting our current third graders, as they will be the first 5th grade graduating class from the new building. And each one of our third graders will be bused over along with their teachers to the new site, and they'll actually get to lay a brick on the building as part of the building project. So we're very excited about that and excited to see the kids get a little tour of what the building is starting to look like. So very excited about it, but a very busy upcoming May.
And if you do want to see some pictures of the new building, it is in the report that's listed for the pre-K building. The announcements I have are pretty simple. I just wanted to kind of go over some of the funding stuff that's been going on. This is kind of the SR2 plan that we have, just more like as we wrap up where all this money is going, right? So the first budget we got for SR2 was $964,000. We divided it amongst these different categories. It's still a fluid plan, so this is what we've tentatively kind of planned for, and we may have to make changes depending on how things pan out. We're still waiting for some testing data to see how many students are at risk and how we can close that achievement gap. That's good, right? So the ESSER 3 allocations kind of got us excited for a moment, because for a brief period of time, the state gave us $200,000 extra, and then they quickly corrected it within a day. I was planning for this number anyways, but the total allocation we're going to receive is $2,166,325.37. The state has kind of solved, hopefully, they said they're solving the allocation and funding budget, because some schools are spending this money, and unfortunately the state was not able to, which this kind of leads into my next topic of the state budget. So they were not able to pay out or reimburse districts for ESSER 2 funds, which is technically available to spend. And in doing that, they created this big budget problem for schools with negative fund balances that they're trying to fix. And some schools are in a different financial situation. They can't even cover the balances that are negative, so they're having a hard time with some of these funds. So you'll see on ESSER 3, the state basically is only releasing to us $1,444,000 in the interim, which is going to be fine for us, but just as a point to be aware of is that they're not going to release all of the money at once as they kind of work through the budgeting process of the state and open up the rest of the funding, which will probably happen for next year. But we're not in a situation where we have to necessarily worry, because the way our plan is structured. We'll be fine to get that closed out by the end of next fiscal year. And then lastly, the fair school funding update. I'm attending there's a budget webinar for the state on Friday, tomorrow, I think. And in May, we'll have more of an update on that, as well as our forecast, which I'm working on currently. But so far, the fair school funding has gone through the House and the state, and it's going now over to committee in the Senate. So there's testimony going on right now, and ideally this is going to be moving forward. They had to make some concessions in the House version of this, so they're slowing down some of the economically disadvantaged and these other there's other factors that are into the funding formula, which they're pumping the brakes on, because they're also trying to roll in these student wellness and success funds. So there's a lot of moving parts. So sometimes for like, if you look at our outlook, it looks like we're getting, a decent amount of money. But when you roll in that student wellness and success fund at the very beginning of the phase-in, if this works and gets passed, it's not really as much as it looks like on paper, because it's like you would lose $200,000 in wellness and gain 350 or maybe 400,000. So it's not as much of a net gain for the district. Long term, as this would get phased in, it is good for the district. So we do hope that it passes, and for none other than the reason that we would be solving an unconstitutional funding crisis for 30 years. So there you have it. Those are my announcements.
Okay, item 10, communications. Area of public persons wishing to address the board of education, please say at this point. Vote formal action will be on subject that are not included on this agenda until the board has had an opportunity to study. Comments regarding personnel must be submitted in writing to the office of the superintendent. Work with the board to complete the blank agenda and conduct and provide sufficient opportunities for members of the public to be heard. Hearing of the public shall be limited to a maximum of 30 minutes, during which each speaker shall be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. Anybody like to speak? Okay. Other board business. There be board policy review. This is the first. These policies. Motion.
We can need a motion. It's just a first read. If anyone has any questions, because we're not going to take a vote on that. There's a misprint on the agenda, so I apologize for that, Mr. Peterson.
Okay. Anyway, this is the first one. Already heard me talk about 8510. There's a couple other parts of 8510 that are new.
Most of the policies, the ones that you see were section 504 and ADA and the non-discrimination, there's been an update into anti-harassment. So every time, for every section of our policy book, there has to be a specific, that policy is verbatim, but as it relates to that section of the policy book. So many of these are repetitive policies that are reflecting the update.
Which I have a quick question. Why is policy 1422 on here twice?
1422 on here twice.
Or I'm sorry, one's 1422 and one's 31. Yeah, it is on here twice. No, I'm sorry. It's 4122 and 1422. My apologies.
Okay. Talks and other business. College now and planning to go home. No.
That was a misprint.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it's just the first read.
Okay. They're making college now and when you are being public school works contract.
So moved.
Any questions about either one of these items? Okay.
Mr. Dosen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer?
Yeah.
Mrs. Wigman?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes. 13, superintendent's consent agenda, item A, certified recommendations, item B, classified recommendations, item C, supplemental recommendations, item B, approval of superintendent's consent agenda. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second. Any questions about any of the recommendations?
Roll call.
Mr. Dosen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer?
Yeah.
Mrs. Wigman?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes. 14, first consent agenda. The financial report, the information, minutes, sources and budget modifications, any new funds, have approval of consent agenda. Have a motion.
So moved.
Good.
Thank you. I get to talk a lot tonight. We'll be doing a much deeper dive in May for the forecast, but again, on a monthly basis, this is the financials really through March. As I said, the state, did previously that the state did give us back a lot of our money in revenue, which was good from some of those cuts from last year. This has put us in a favorable position in terms of revenues. A little bit unfavorable, but basically for a district our size and our budget, this is almost a net zero for us and an unfavorable side of expenditures compared to the forecast. And then overall, we're pretty much at a break-even point at $76,000 that would be added to the fund balance or the excess. I'm sorry, 76,000 will be added to our fund balance at the end of the fiscal year. When we look at revenues, we are above in local tax revenue. State revenues are now, so at the beginning of the fiscal year, these were very, very different month to month, and now they're closing up because the state has given us that money back. As we look at the revenue received through March compared to the prior year, you can see that overall, though, we are down from last year, and again, a lot of that is the same reasons before. The all-day kindergarten, all of those things have played a role in this. So we see still overall the state has a reduced revenue for us. It's just not as bad. All other revenue, which is where the tuition has come into play and some of the pay to participate is lower than what it has been. So $1.2 million than the previous year is where we're sitting at now. As it comes to the comparing to the forecast, this is where the good part of it is, because we were preparing for still a pretty bad scenario in November. So you'll see that the state revenue is up by $594,000. Local revenue is up by $49,000. That's pretty close. And then all other revenue, $27,000. So overall, if I tie this into those budget modifications that are a part later, kind of match this very closely. So that's why this is at this point we're at a very close scenario. So we should be anticipating somewhere around 51.9 million in total revenues when we close out the year. On the expenditure side, March to March, we're pretty close. We basically spent almost the same amount of money this March as we did last March. All those numbers are extremely tight. So again, we've done a good job in keeping our expenses under control. As we look at it from the prior year, same thing, but actually a little bit better. Overall, our expenses are lower this year by $283,000. Again, trying to use grant funds where we can and keep our expenditures in check. The largest area there that we've saved is in purchase services at $506,000. And then lastly, as it compares to the forecast, we're down over the forecast in salaries and benefits. We've had some of those retirements that came in a little unexpected at strange times that we normally would see. Purchase services down, and then some all other expenditures though are up. So overall 52,000, it puts us at 51.8 in terms of $51.8 million in expenditures, and overall puts us in a stable financial position. There are two donations so there's football jerseys and pants that were donated to the athletic department, and we also had one of our advisors, because mock trial was not able to compete this year or to do their event, decided to donate his salary back to the district. The minutes are there. This is a modification for the expenditures and revenues to get our books all balanced as we head into the fiscal year end, and then the request to add 3 new funds, the class of 2024, class of 2025, and middle school robotics. Middle school robotics has been run as it's been more of a newer program out of the principal's fund, and Mr. Rings doesn't want to keep that water muddy, so we're going to separate out those funds for next year and give them their own fund because it's been a very successful program. Any other questions?
Can you speak a little bit more on that, the resource and budget modifications? Is this an end of the year kind of cleanup and truing?
Yes. So some of the numbers, so part of it is it's getting us ready so that we don't have such big modifications as we head to the fiscal year, but also to bring things back in perspective, we also switched those financial systems. And so we didn't actually get the budgets loaded from the old system into the new system until sometime in late February. So then once we got them loaded, then we had to kind of, this is like a reconciliation as we prepare for the fiscal year end.
So is this more of a one-time situation because of,
Yeah, I mean, some districts decide they choose to update these every month. That's just not what I've usually done, but there's usually some margins of error where you need to kind of clean it up. So, and plus we had so many of the grant funds. So some of the grant funds that we received in the fall, well, really at the end of last fiscal year, but we didn't use them until the fall of this year. We didn't even appropriate those in the beginning of the year because we hadn't spent any of the money. So this is kind of adding those funds back onto the books. And again, part of that was because of the conversion of software and how they got transferred over. Mr. Dosen?
yes.
Mrs. Kramer?
Yes.
Mrs. Wigman?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes. Announcements. May 6th. No announcements.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Dosen?
Yes.
Mrs. Kramer?
Yes.
Mrs. Wigman?
Yes.
Mr. Peterson?
Yes.